Science fiction often gets a bad rap for bending the rules of reality, but some films go beyond spectacle. They honor the laws of physics, the principles of biology, and the wonders of real science. These are the cinematic blueprints that got it right. From interstellar time warps to Martian botany, here are 15 sci-fi movies that nailed the science. Number 15. Jurassic Park, 1993. Most audiences remember the dinosaurs. Scientists remember the genetics. Jurassic Park did not just unleash prehistoric beasts. It introduced millions to the idea of DNA as a gateway to resurrection. Michael Crichton's script builds on real molecular biology and cloning theory. While the frog DNA splice was a creative leap, the foundation of extracting genetic material from preserved specimens was based on actual research in the early 90s. The film smartly uses chaos theory as a thematic layer explored through Jeff Goldblum's character. It accurately warns of unpredictable systems in biological engineering. Though real-life dino cloning is far from feasible, the science behind gene sequencing, recombinant DNA, and the ethics of synthetic biology were all hot topics in cutting-edge labs. Paleontologists admired how the film highlighted their field's relevance. Even its depiction of lysine dependency in the animals was modeled on real genetic control techniques. Jurassic Park did not predict the future. It asked if we were already living in it. Number 14. Europa Report, 2013. Europa Report is the underdog space thriller that quietly earned respect from real scientists. Its story revolves around a manned mission to Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, in search of microbial life beneath the ice. What sets it apart is its clinical commitment to realism. There is no melodrama, no space wizards, only the cold procedural logic of astronautics. The ship design follows current NASA mission models. Delayed communication reflects real-world signal lag across interplanetary distances. The gravity transitions, docking procedures, and even astronaut suits were all crafted with engineering precision. The film builds tension not through monsters, but through malfunction. It mirrors the tone of actual mission logs and reminds us that space is not hostile out of malice, but indifference. Europa Report explores alien life in a way that is quietly revolutionary. It does not exaggerate the unknown. It respects it. That restraint is what earned the film a place in classrooms and symposiums on astrobiology. Number 13. Ad Astra, 2019. Ad Astra takes the slow, haunting journey of space travel and treats it with psychological depth and scientific care. Unlike hyperdrives or fantasy tech, this film respects the physics of acceleration, latency, and isolation. The moon is depicted as commercially colonized and surprisingly accurate with its low-gravity surface and barren beauty. The trip to Mars involves gravity assists and communication delays that mirror real interplanetary missions. What sets Ad Astra apart is its focus on human endurance. It explores how solitude and stress impact astronauts, an increasingly important field in preparation for deep space travel. The depiction of near-future propulsion systems and the bureaucratic control of space agencies mirrors our current path toward privatized and militarized outer space. Its vision is not utopian, it is clinical. Ad Astra was not made to excite children. It was made to haunt adults who understand how hard it really is to reach for the stars. Number 12. Silent Running, 1972. Before environmentalism became a global priority, Silent Running imagined a future where Earth's forests survived only in orbit. Directed by visual effects legend Douglas Trumbull, the film follows a lone botanist tending to greenhouse domes floating in space. While the emotional story tugs at the heart, it is the film's attention to environmental science that cements its place here. The concept of sustaining plant life in space is grounded in real, closed ecosystem models. NASA would later explore similar biospheres for long-term missions. The domes simulate photosynthesis, nutrient cycling, and artificial gravity through centrifugal force. Even the robot drones resemble early automation models later adapted in real robotics design. Silent Running predicted debates on space-based conservation decades before they entered academic journals. The film's haunting silence and attention to sustainability issues resonate more deeply with each passing decade. It is not just a sci-fi tale. It is a quiet environmental manifesto that feels more relevant today than it did in 1972. Number 11. Sunshine, 2007. Sunshine dares to reignite the dying sun and somehow makes it feel plausible. While the central premise may stretch scientific limits, the execution of everything else is chillingly precise. Directed by Danny Boyle, the film was developed with input from physicists at CERN. The ship's trajectory, its shield dynamics, and the psychological profiles of its crew were all modeled after actual mission parameters for deep space travel. Sunshine is one of the few films to show the devastating impact of cosmic radiation on the human body. It visualizes heat stress, oxygen depletion, and isolation with a harrowing realism. The crew's descent into mental deterioration is not fantasy. It is grounded in long-duration spaceflight research. The design of the Icarus II spacecraft reflects current theories on shielding and solar energy harvesting. Sunshine is not a popcorn space opera. It is a pressure cooker of realism. And in its silence, in its sterile horror, it forces us to reckon with the cost of reaching the sun. Number 10. Andromeda Strain, 1971. What happens when a satellite brings back a microbe that kills an entire town in seconds? Andromeda Strain answers with surgical precision. Adapted from Michael Crichton's novel and directed by Robert Wise, the film treats science not as spectacle, but as sacred process. It was one of the first films to depict biocontainment labs with realistic sterilization procedures, airlocks, and biosafety levels. The Wildfire lab system was based on real military and CDC protocols. Its computer analysis sequences reflect the early emergence of AI-assisted research and the challenges of decoding alien pathogens. There is no Hollywood hysteria here, only cold, methodical crisis response. The film anticipated concerns about synthetic biology decades before CRISPR or biohacking became part of public discourse. Scientists praised it for avoiding sensationalism. Instead, it built tension from procedures data and human fallibility. Andromeda Strain is not about monsters. It is about the terrifying precision of microbial life and the thin line between control and catastrophe. Number 9. Arrival, 2016. Arrival broke every sci-fi cliché about aliens. No warships, no explosions, just language. At its core, Arrival is a story about communication and cognition, and it handles both with stunning accuracy. Based on Ted Chiang's short story and guided by linguistic consultants, the film's exploration of Sapir-Whorf theory, the idea that language shapes perception, is both philosophically and scientifically grounded. Amy Adams plays a linguist tasked with deciphering a non-linear alien language, and the process she uses mirrors actual field linguistics. It features phonetic analysis, syntax pattern recognition, and contextual deduction. The circular alien symbols were designed in consultation with real semioticians. Meanwhile, the depiction of time perception aligns with known neurological research into how memory and language intersect. Arrival suggests that by learning a new language, you can alter your view of time. A radical idea, but one rooted in genuine scientific debate. Even its military chain of command and international tension play out in believable bureaucratic detail. Arrival is a film about aliens, but it is even more about the human brain. Number 8. Primer, 2004. Primer does not explain itself. It dares you to keep up. Directed by former engineer Shane Carruth on a microscopic budget, the film dives headfirst into the tangled logic of theoretical time travel. There are no glowing portals or magical devices, just circuit boards, electromagnetic fields, and a terrifying sense of consequence. Carruth designed the film's core concept around actual physics principles, including Feynman diagrams and causality loops. He went so far as to draft working blueprints for the time machine and model the paradoxes that result. The dialogue is filled with authentic engineering jargon and lacks any spoon-fed exposition. Viewers are forced to decode what is happening, much like scientists untangling a theory. As the characters spiral into ethical chaos, the science never bends to fantasy. Primer remains one of the few films that makes time travel feel like a dangerous experiment instead of a superpower. It does not entertain, it unravels. And that commitment to intellectual rigor is what turned it into a cult classic among physicists. Number 7. Moon, 2009. Moon is not a space epic. It is a chamber play on the edge of the lunar surface. Directed by Duncan Jones and inspired by real-world ethics in cloning and mining automation, the film offers a grounded look at isolation and identity. Sam Rockwell plays a lone worker managing lunar resource extraction, a concept rooted in real studies of helium-3 mining. The lunar-based design is modest and functional, based on NASA schematics. Artificial intelligence is portrayed not as a villain, but as a utilitarian assistant. The cloning plotline is handled with startling realism. There are no magic tanks or over-the-top reveals. Just the slow, devastating truth of expendable bodies in corporate machinery. Bioethicists have praised the film for exploring personhood and memory in the context of biotechnology. Moon respects both science and the limits of human endurance. It is not about space battles. It is about solitude technology and the horrifying cost of being replaceable. Number 6. Gravity, 2013. Gravity may be a survival thriller, but it is also a stunning exercise in orbital physics. Directed by Alfonso Cuarón and developed with input from NASA engineers, the film depicts space not as a noisy battlefield, but as an unforgiving void. The silence of space, the unpredictability of debris fields, and the terrifying inertia of zero gravity are all depicted with exceptional realism. Sandra Bullock's character tumbles through orbit in sequences designed with real-life velocity and rotation physics. The satellite orbits and chain reactions leading to the Kessler syndrome are grounded in actual NASA risk assessments. While the timeline is compressed and some orbital alignments are exaggerated for drama, the science of movement and catastrophe remains intact. The film even captures how disorientation and lack of reference points affect cognition in microgravity. Gravity does not just look beautiful, it obeys the rules of the vacuum. That fidelity made it a favorite among astronauts and physicists alike, despite its occasional leaps in timeline. For once, Hollywood showed space for what it really is: quiet, deadly, and indifferent. Number 5. Gattaca, 1997. Gattaca imagines a future shaped by genetics, and the result feels chillingly plausible. Set in a world where DNA determines social status, career, and identity, the film explores the moral and scientific implications of a genetically stratified society. Its predictions are not far-flung science fiction. They are reflections of current gene editing debates and CRISPR technology. Gattaca's world features real concepts like pre-implantation genetic diagnosis and embryo selection, both of which are already in use. It never relies on flashy tech. Instead, it shows a sterile clinical future where merit is irrelevant and genetics rule. Ethan Hawke's character poses the essential question: can human will transcend biological destiny? Bioethicists have used the film in academic settings to debate consent, eugenics, and discrimination. Even the security systems portrayed, based on blood, urine, and skin samples, are modeled after real biometric tools. Gattaca is not about dystopia. It is about inevitability, a future that is already arriving in quiet clinical steps. Number 4. Interstellar, 2014. Interstellar is a rare sci-fi epic where the spectacle serves the science. Developed with physicist Kip Thorne, the film was praised not just for its story, but for its accurate rendering of astrophysical phenomena. The black hole Gargantua is not just eye candy. It is based on real gravitational lensing data and rendered using equations that later appeared in scientific journals. The time dilation scenes on the water planet reflect Einstein's theory of relativity. 1 hour equaling 7 years is not fiction. It is mathematically accurate, given the proximity to a massive gravitational source. The ship's rotation-based gravity sleep cycles and fuel considerations were modeled after theoretical interstellar travel plans. Even the ending, while speculative, explores real physics around tesseracts and higher dimensions. Interstellar's emotional core is wrapped in genuine scientific wonder. It treats science not as a gimmick, but as a vessel for awe. In doing so, it redefined what smart science fiction could be on the biggest scale imaginable. Number 3. Contact, 1997. Contact is not just about aliens. It is about the search for meaning in a universe that may not answer back. Based on Carl Sagan's novel and developed with input from real SETI scientists, the film grounds its wonder in rigorous astrophysics. Jodie Foster's character represents a scientific ideal, curious, skeptical, and methodical. The film opens with one of the most accurate portrayals of radio astronomy ever captured on film, using the real, very large array and detailing the process of detecting non-random signals from space. The story's depiction of wormholes, multidimensional transport, and prime number sequences as a universal language all reflect genuine scientific theories. The political and religious backlash to the discovery is just as grounded in sociological realism. Sagan's fingerprints are everywhere. Contact shows how science and faith collide, and sometimes overlap, in the face of the unknown. It does not offer easy answers. It offers hard questions with real math and a telescope pointed at the sky. Number 2. The Martian, 2015. The Martian is the film NASA never knew it needed. Based on Andy Weir's novel and directed by Ridley Scott, it tells the survival story of an astronaut stranded on Mars, using only science to stay alive. And that science is spot on. From calculating calorie deficits using human waste as fertilizer and converting hydrazine into water, the film showcases real survival engineering in a hostile environment. Experts from NASA and JPL consulted to ensure the plausibility of everything from rover design to launch sequences. Botanists praised its accuracy in portraying plant growth under Martian conditions. Engineers marveled at its use of real orbital mechanics for the rescue mission. Even the psychological stress of isolation is presented with emotional restraint and realism. The Martian is not about aliens. It is about ingenuity and the indomitable will to survive. It turned science into the hero and reminded viewers that solving problems with math and duct tape might just save a life. Number 1. 2001. A Space Odyssey, 1968. Stanley Kubrick's magnum opus remains the gold standard for scientific realism in film. Created with input from NASA engineers and leading physicists 2001, A Space Odyssey showcases orbital mechanics, zero gravity, space travel, and artificial intelligence, with haunting precision. The silent vacuum of space, the slow, graceful rotation of the space station, the centrifuge for artificial gravity, all were designed based on real aerospace concepts. HAL 9000 remains the most chillingly plausible AI in cinema, not because it is malicious, but because it follows its programming to a terrifying end. The film's depiction of long-term interplanetary missions even includes the psychological toll of isolation and procedural monotony. Kubrick's attention to detail borders on obsession. Every panel, every tool, every delay in communication was crafted to simulate what actual space travel might feel like. It is not just a movie, it is a simulation decades ahead of its time, and to this day scientists reference it as a model for visualizing the future. These films did more than entertain. They respected the rules of the universe. From linguistics to cloning, from orbital physics to AI, they brought real science into the spotlight. When fiction listens to fact, it does not lose magic. It gains meaning. Like and subscribe for more stories where science meets cinema.